All right, so our top story at this hour, Gauteng Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Elias Mawela says the overall crime in the province has increased by 2% between January and March. That is compared to the same period in 2021-2022's reporting cycle. Now, he announced the province's annual crime statistics at the Gauteng legislature on Wednesday. Gauteng has contributed 27.2% to the national crime statistics for the 2022-2023 period. Contact crimes such as murder, attempted murder, robbery and sexual offences are the key drivers of the latest figures. Mawela says several areas across the province remain crime hotspots. These include Tembisa, Ivory Park, Orange Farm, Jeppe, as well as Hillbrow, Johannesburg Central, even Brooklyn and Pretoria Central.
Although our overall crime increased by 2,129 counts, translating to 2.0% increase as compared to the same time in 2021-2022, we are encouraged by the fact that when we reflect on the provincial performance, taking into consideration the number of offences we have reduced out of the 17 community reported serious crimes, we were the only province which were able to reduce 8 offences out of the 17 community reported serious crimes. A small feat, but a great sign that we are in the right path with implementation of our crime combating strategies. Like I've said, every win counts. Coming to the issue of the contact crime, this category of crime remain major contributor to our crime statistics. However, the category has reflected a reduction in sexual offences, assault with the intent to cause grievous bodily harm, as well as robbery with aggravating circumstances. Honorable Chairperson and members, you will recall, Gauteng we've been struggling to deal with robbery aggravating, but we have seen that the last quarter when we presented, there was also a slight decrease. Even this quarter, we've managed to suppress robbery aggravating, of which Gauteng is known to be a problem with.
We're joined via Zoom now by Senior Training Coordinator on Terrorism and Explosives-related Incidents at the Institute for Security Studies, William Els. Very good afternoon to you, William. Thank you for your time with us here on the SABC.
Good afternoon to you, Liesl.
So we've seen the stats being released for Gauteng, and it reflected that about 1,556 people were murdered in Gauteng, and that was between January and March of this year. What should these deaths be attributed to? Is this an issue, that looks at a lack of law enforcement or political will in terms of dealing with crime? How would you weigh in on that?
Well, Liesl, I think what we are experiencing at the moment, not only in Gauteng, in South Africa, is sort of a perfect storm when it comes to these violent crimes and organized crime-related incidents that we are facing. And there's not a very short answer to that, but we can try. If you look back at how it has developed over a number of years, where a number of factors contributed to the deterioration of law and order in our province. And, the state capture has played a very big role when it comes to your intelligence, with your law enforcement, with your investigations, as well as with the judiciary. That is just one flip of the coin. The other problem that we have is that, a part of that, we lost a lot of our competence and our skills levels within these different departments that contributes to some challenges that are faced. There are many of these policemen and women and other officers that are really working very hard to actually make our life safer. But our challenge that we face is that I think they are just overwhelmed at the moment because things really started to get out of control.
So, William, you've spoken about the contributing factors and perhaps also shine a spotlight on the effectiveness of law enforcement, particularly due to the challenges that they are experiencing. And as the crime stats had been released, there were concerns about citizens taking the law into their own hands, resorting to Vigilantism, as well as community retaliation and mob justice. How concerning is that aspect also in terms of trends and patterns being reflected?
It is extremely concerning. That is a normal reaction of people that want that really get frustrated with what they perceive to be a lack of cooperation and also of service delivery, and then they take the law into their own hands, and we all know that's got serious consequences for the people involved as well, because they then are committing crimes themselves, and they are actually contributing to the problem instead of trying to assist with solving the problems. So yes, that is a serious concern. That is also a natural outflow of the frustration of the people of South Africa, because, you know, we're talking about percentages here and percentages there, but the moment it starts to really touch you as a person, these crimes, it's a different story.
Willem, I also want to turn our attention to some of the other patterns and trends that had emerged. We saw that there had been an increase in online shopping scams and also amongst e-hailing platforms. We need to look at an effective strategy to combat that, perhaps whether one is put in place and the gaps as well at this point. How would you also reflect on that given the changing dynamics?
We have to look maybe at a bigger picture. You know, all these crimes that are being committed in South Africa, many of them are transnational. Many of them are syndicates that also, of course, operate across borders. And, you know, we are not an island in South Africa. We're part of a bigger community of SADC. And within SADC, we've got a transnational organized crime strategy that has been implemented since January of last year, where it is addressing several of these incidents and several of these issues that are also being addressed by the strategies that the South African Police Service is implementing. We must commend the General on what he just reported, that there is a reduction, but at the end of the day, you know, that is maybe too little too late. We have to maybe look at new strategies. We maybe have to look at more and better law enforcement. You know, South Africa, you mentioned the online and crimes that we are facing. We've got the new Cybercrime Act that is being implemented. We are not fully capacitated to enforce that law. We don't have the expertise, or we don't have within our police services the expertise and also the resources to effectively police it. We need to look at strengthening the police and the hand of the police in that regard as well.
Willem, just very quickly, you did speak or alluded to the reduction in some of the crimes, including sexual offences, assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. So there has been improvement on that front. And given the complex social dynamics, socioeconomic issues that Gauteng in particular, obviously as a province faces, I wonder where to from here. Based on the stats that have been reflected, how do we begin to live and exist? How does this translate into behavior patterns as well going forward as we look at new strategies and also safeguarding ourselves at this point?
I think you are touching a very nerve of what we have to look at. You know what? We have to ask, what can we do as well? We normally look at the police. We want to focus on what the police is doing and what the police is not doing. But I think it's time that the police go and sit down. You know, in the past 20 odd years, we had some strategies. Some of them worked, but surely many of them did not work. We have to look and say, okay, what have we done? What have we done right? What have we done wrong? And then in this case, I think we need to see how can we take hands, because you know, a lot of these expertise are in private sector hands at the moment that can actually assist the police with fighting crime. And we need to sit down and see how we can draw up new strategies where we include the private sector, we include all the other organizations to take the hands of the police and the judiciary. Because at the end of the day, as you mentioned, we have got a lot of arrests, but at the end of the day, those people have to be processed, those cases have to be processed and have to go through court at the end of the day to effectively solve these crimes.
No, absolutely. It obviously affects the entire value chain, and obviously looking at the different departments and ministries also involved. Lots of questions at this time. But Willem, I'm going to leave the conversation there and take a quick ad break. Actually, not an ad break. We're going to leave the conversation there for now and move on to other news. Just William Els is a senior training coordinator on terrorism and explosives at the Institute for Security Studies, chatting about the quarter four crime stats that had been released in Gauteng a little early on today.